So in the last couple months that I have been riding the Riv, I've been thoroughly enjoying it, but dying to know how it rides with drop bars. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what I use to convert it to a drop bar bike, and also more importantly about how it changed the ride. Did it ride better? Did it ride worse? Find out in this video. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into the non-competitive side of cycling, riding party pace, and living the supple life, you have found your people, hit that subscribe button. So in doing this conversion, I really wanted to do it on the cheap, so I harvested a lot of pre-existing parts from my Velo Orange Polyvalent. One of the key components was this quill to threadless stem adapter. It's pretty ingenious. It works like a regular quill stem, but at the top of it, it does have a space that's meant to use modern threadless stem. So I combined that with a 90mm Velo Orange threadless stem. And this gives you a lot of flexibility because you can swap the stem length without buying a whole quill stem and all that stuff. And it makes changing handlebars a lot easier because it does have a removable faceplate. For the handlebars, I'm using the Velo Orange Nuvo Rivendell handlebars, which has a pretty nice shape, shallowish drop. Not as wide as I'd prefer, but still pretty good. For brake levers, I use some Aero Tektro brake levers with one key point. You can actually buy these levers with different amounts of cable pull. So these have a longer cable pull than a standard road brake, making them compatible with the V-brakes that were already on the Rivendell. I was trying to avoid using something like the Travel Agent, which converts road brake pull to mountain bike calipers. So these Tektro levers were a really elegant solution. And plus, I already had them in the cave of bad ideas. So sometimes it does pay off to be a bike part hoarder. For shifters, I'm using the Diacomp Any wing shifters, which you can actually still buy new from the Soma Fab Shop. Yes, they're based on an older shifter design that you can search on eBay if you want, or you can just buy it new from the Soma Fab. Instead of mounting them above the brake, which coincidentally the Diacomp video shows as the correct installation method, and for which people in varying degrees of politeness told me was wrong, this time around, I mounted them below the brake levers. In this setup, there is no fear of breaking your thumbs in a theoretical crash while shifting, and it also shifted perfectly from the hoods. If you've never used shifters like this before, yes, they look a little bit clunky, and it does take a half dozen rides to get used to, but I actually prefer them. I like them a little bit better than bar end shifters because your hands are always near the brake hood, so it makes it really quick and easy to access. I also actually prefer them a little bit better to the Gevinol shifters. There's no accidentally actuating the brake while shifting, and it takes a little bit less finger yoga to shift through the full range. So if you can get over the looks and the price tag, they're actually a pretty good option. Incidentally, I also found them pretty easy to shift while standing and climbing. It did take some practice, but I found that that wasn't a real issue either. Okay, enough of the components. How does it ride? Was it better? How did it affect the handling of the bike? Perhaps the biggest tangible difference is how stable the bike felt. Like I mentioned in the previous video, with the hands behind the steering axis, the steering feels light and quick, and it's also compounded by the fact that you don't have a lot of weight on the front wheel. However, the added weight and positioning of the hand in front of the steering axis made the front feel a lot more planted. Probably a little bit less ideal on super steep and sketchy descents where you want to move behind the saddle, but anything less than, say, a 15% grade, it was definitely more than adequate. Another big benefit of the drops, which is probably no surprise, is that it did allow me to hide from the wind a little bit more. Even though they're pretty wide drops, they're still narrower than the Bosco bars, and you also get the added drop position. So for me on this particular bike, I think it was also sized a little bit better for drops. With sweatbacks, I felt like it was a little compact. I could make it work, but a more ideal setup would have been to either size up a frame or swap out the stem for something pretty long like a 120. So is there a setup that is better? Well, I think it's horses for courses, and different people are going to prefer different things. I think for now, I may leave it in drop bar mode. It's just a little bit more of a familiar feeling for me. Not that it's like categorically better than Boscos or sweatbacks, but for me, the drops just feel a little bit more at home. I think in the future, however, I will try to find a longer stem and put the Boscos back on and see what it feels like when I get my hands a little bit closer to the steering axis. I think one of the more interesting things is that by swapping the bars, it really does change the demeanor of the bike. I think with the sweatbacks, it just felt a lot more casual and kind of playful, less serious, if you will. But with the drops, it just feels like a little bit more capable bike, especially when riding longer distances where you have more hand positions, can tuck out of the wind, all that stuff. I think as a drop bar bike, it does remind me a little bit more of the Ritchie Outback, probably not as light, but a lot of similar qualities. So super stable when descending, not the quickest accelerator, but it will get up to speed, and pretty comfortable and compliant. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Are there any other Riv riders out there? Curious to see if you like alt bars better or drop bars. Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, want to support the channel, consider joining us on Patreon, where you get access to a ton of really cool discount codes and keep the videos coming. So until next time, keep the supple side down.